Good morning. So great to see y'all today. 65 days ago, we came together. It was 2 days before classes started, and we came together for our freshman convocation. Do you remember that? We talked about what convocation means. Do you remember what that word means? It's a calling together. So today we're called together again for this very special occasion. It's another one of those unique moments in your Georgia Southwestern experience. So not every university has a common read. Did you know that? Not every university has a common read, but we do here because we believe that reading together can be one of the most enriching aspects of your academic journey. So by reading the same book, we share a collective experience through that sparks conversations, which I know you've had in your classes, and I suspect you've had some out of your classes as well. It broadens our perspectives, and it deepens our understanding of really important themes. So today we have an extraordinary opportunity to interact with the author of Failing Up, Dr. Barbara Hong. So this is a rare and very valuable chance to delve deeper into this book's themes and to hear firsthand about the inspirations and the experiences that shaped her writing. So we all know that Dr. Hong's book is a powerful, powerful testament to the human spirit. The themes of overcoming obstacles and of resiliency, they remind us that challenges are not just hurdles to overcome, but they can be opportunities for growth and for transformation. So her stories inspire us to persevere, to find strength in adversity, and to believe in our own capacity to overcome even the most extreme challenges. So as you listen and engage today, so you will have the opportunity to ask questions, so don't forget that you'll have that chance to do that. But I encourage you to think about your own journey, to reflect on the obstacles that you've faced and then the resilience that you've shown. Reflect on that and let Dr. Hong's insights and her experiences inspire you to continue to push forward, no matter what your challenges are. So let's make the most of this incredible opportunity that we have today to learn and to grow together. So please help me give an energetic welcome to Dr. David Jenkins for his introduction of Dr. Hong. Thank you.
Good morning. It's my honor to introduce you to Dr. Barbara Hong. Dr. Hong earned her PhD from Columbia University in special education in addition to 3 masters in instructional practices for diverse learners, educational leadership and policy, and as a learning specialist. She's a 3-time recipient of the prestigious Senior Fulbright Scholar, Senior Fulbright Specialist, and Fulbright Hayes Fellow Awards. In 2014, Dr. Hong was appointed by the U.S. State Department Bureau of International Programs as a speaker specialist and expert in disability and inclusion, where she consults with the Ministries of Education for the U.S. Embassy worldwide. She was also the first notable visiting scholar at the Taiwan Municipal University of Education. Dr. Hong has been a professor for over 2 decades and has taught in New York, Hawaii, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Qatar, Turkey, Taiwan, Malaysia, Guatemala, Singapore, and Texas. She also serves on the Oxford Educational Research Advisory Board and was a former executive board member of the Council for Exceptional Children, the largest international professional organization for individuals with disabilities. Dr. Hong is a licensed K-12 teacher, school principal, and district superintendent. Dr. Hong's research focuses on the barriers that students encounter during their transition to and through college. She is sought after for her restructuring efforts in transforming post-secondary institutions by reframing student outcomes as college readiness skills and self-determination. Her work has been cited in prominent publications, including the Handbook of Adult Learning, the Wiley Library of Higher Education, Vanderbilt University's Peabody Recommended Readings, the British Library, and the Hong Kong Institute of Education Library. Dr. Hong is a recipient of the International Teacher of Honor and the University Exemplary Faculty Awards. She previously worked as an education specialist for the Fairfax County, Virginia government, as Dean of University College at Texas A&M International University, and a special advisor to 5 vice presidents. She is currently the Vice President for Student Success at San Antonio College, where she oversees the affairs of almost 20,000 students. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Barbara Hong.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, great. I'm not going to stand on the stage because I'm probably going to fall down. And I want to be able to interact with you at a closer level, if that's okay with you. So if I move around and people on the stand, hello, I'm going to try to operate this thing without messing up. And then I got another pointer. I'm going to do my best to see if I can point something. So if I point something, it's to show you. So let's see if I could manage all of this in my pocket. So thank you so much for inviting me here. Did you guys know this is not my first time at your university? I've been here because Dr. Jenkins decided to reach out to me at a conference and say, hey, how about coming to speak to our students? Imagine, he's always thinking about you guys. It's like, what can I do to bring a message to the students? And that is the kind of school that you are attending. You should be very, very proud. And your parents should be very, very pleased that you are part of this great university, okay? So let's begin with this thing. Let's see. Oh, how many of you have seen the movie Crazy Rich Asian? Raise your hand. Not many. You need to watch it because I am crazy and Asian. I'm not rich, but definitely the crazy Asian, right? So of course the movie, if you've seen it, it takes place actually, it's filmed mostly in Malaysia because Singapore is so tiny. There's no way you have such a big mansion. Singapore is a dot on the map. The name of the country is bigger than the country itself. So it's 1 degree above the equator, extremely hot. There's only one weather. It's called very hot, okay? And I want to say it's about the size of Dallas Airport. That's it, the whole country. From the farthest end to the other end is 30 minutes, and that's it, the whole country, with 5.7 million people. So it's a very, very crowded place. But it wasn't always like that. Currently, actually it was predicted about 10 years ago, CNN predicted that Singapore will have the highest number of millionaires per capita by the year 2022, and sure enough. So it's a very wealthy place, but not me. I'm not rich. I'm an educator in America. Yeah, okay. So have you seen this picture before? Like some of this scene? So Singapore always have to be number one. So when I first landed in Hawaii, you remember what I wrote in the book? I was like, I feel like I'm in a third world country airport because Singapore airport is number one. They are very, very competitive, just like a lot of Asian countries, very competitive. So when London had the big eye, they got, Singapore got to build the bigger one. So it's an indoor and a waterfall in the airport. And the tallest, that's the hotel with the pool up there, the infinity pool. I swam in that pool, you're not going to fall down, it's the illusion. So everything got to be number one. And yet it's a tiny little country. And here I live in Texas, I'm like, I don't even see that kind of monument, right? Spectacular monument. But it wasn't always like that. I began my book by sharing with you the cracks in my life, right? There is a crack in everything. And why do I use quotations? Because I find that, Quotation have a way for us to relate based on what your experiences are. So you get to interpret the stories based on your background. And based on this there's a crack in everything. A lot of time when we see cracks, we see failures, whether it's physical, mental, financial, social, we avoid it. We're embarrassed. We walk around it. We try to patch it up. But yet it is the very crack that gives you the light to survive, that strengthens you. Okay? So I will give you a few tips on the secret to success that is really no secret at all. People who are successful, and you can look around this room, however you find success, is that they fail a lot. So I'm not saying that you deliberately go and fail. It's that when you fail, and you will fail, is what do you do with the experience? Do you blame the professor? This is a horrible class. You know, it was so difficult. The professor was unfair. My parents didn't give me this enough. I didn't have. We tend to find a problem and find who to blame, right? But yet it's, what can I learn from this journey? You think of Steve Jobs. You think of, a lot of people, they fail and they try to recognize what did I do wrong, the mistake, and be aware of where can I go from there. So the first tip is failure is part of being successful. The fact that you recognize, I shouldn't have done this, I should have done that, I could have done, that itself is part of your journey to success. This is a picture of my family. It's the only family picture I have that we ever taken. So as you see, let's see, remember my oldest brother's name? Winston. And a lot of time people go, my father watches a lot of American movies, right? So people often, oh, Winston, like Winston Churchill. No, Winston the cigarette, right? So Jennifer is such a common name, my sister. And I don't know another Jennifer in America, in Singapore. I don't know another Barbara in the whole Singapore. And then I come here and we go, it's like Barbara Bush, it's like my grandma is Barbara. I say, yeah, they're also like 100 years old, And we all look so happy. It's the only picture that we have of my family. So now you can see the faces right there. This is the flats, or you call it projects. So that corner is exactly my house. You see how close it is to the next neighbor. So this is the exact block that I live in, and they are called block. So block 303, block 304, and that's what we all live by blocks. And slowly they developed to having a little playground, but it started off plain because Singapore had just separated from Malaysia. And this is the back of those blocks that I share in the book about, the little fun things that my sister and I get to do as kids is when the monsoon wind blows, and if you didn't clip your clothes tight enough, guess what? They will fall off. And you see these kids running downstairs, grabbing underwears, clothes. It doesn't matter because you are really not stealing. You can return those clothes. So this is like free shopping. So we just grab those clothes and we, whether we resell it again, or we just keep them and hopefully one day we'll fit them. So we grab everything that is, they're a little bit wet, a little bit dirty, but it's okay, we'll keep it. But that is about our only pastime living. So we don't have washing machine because they are flat, so they built the hot water tank above each block. So we all share the same tank of water. This is a picture of Jennifer on Winston's back. And I show this picture to show you, let me see, do I have the other remote? How close the other house is, okay? I just want to show you, if you can see right here. This is the next block and my house is right here. It's just less than a few feet away. So Lati is the neighbor girl that I hang around with. She's Muslim, and also, again, I grew up with all this different culture and religion. And whenever Lati is outside, I go, oh, you want to play, you want to talk? I say, yeah, my mom is working. So I didn't understand what that means until many, many years later. Then I learned she's a prostitute. But that's a job. So there was no judgment because, oh, good, she has a job. And so it's upstairs is a prostitute, downstairs is a prostitute. So I didn't grow up in an environment where I was surrounded by role models or books or people telling you this is the journey. It is just about survival. And when you're trying to survive, you don't have a chance to dream what tomorrow is going to be like. The other one. This is my mother. My home is a sweatshop. So that is the refrigerator that I described. That is not very high, but we put 4 cinder blocks, and this has been painted many times because of the rust. And you can literally see, I guess I'm not pointing this very well. See the next door. If somebody is changing, coming out of the bathroom, you can see that. That's how close the blocks are. And we learned to sew. So between here, which you can see, this is the kitchen and the work area, and the toilet is right here. Just a small little area is all we work around with. Only one person can be in there at a time. So my mom didn't go to school, never got a chance to go to school because she was given away, or rather she went to a play day and never came back. The mother just gave her up because they just cannot feed so many mouths. And so my mother never really understood that. And throughout her life, she's never learned to write her name or to read at all because she's completely illiterate. And she tried to understand and communicate in the dialect. And the more I stay in America, the more I'm losing my dialect every time I go back home. So we have communication issue. So literacy is such an important part of communication and building relationship. I really treasure in my language until now I feel like I'm losing it because I cannot communicate with my mother. You see this wall, they are very dark because, it's just dirty. You don't get to paint. This is me lying in bed, my mother's bed. That is the only doll that my mother found in the garbage next to our house. Somebody raise a hand. You had a question? Did somebody raise a hand here? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So this is one of those moments, again, I don't look happy. I cannot say I have a happy childhood, but I also don't know what is on the other side. I just live my life daily like that. And a lot of time after my father comes home drunk and beat us, or, inappropriately touches me, it's just another day. I don't know what else is on the other side because I don't know what does a normal family look like. So this is me being sad, in the home. And this is another quote. Sometimes the things we can't change end up changing us. Right? I could say, well, you know what? My parents are abusive, my father drinks, my mother is illiterate. I could take this and say, why bother with education? I could beat my kids, I could be rude because that's how I'm raised. We could say, is it my DNA? We could say that. A lot of time we blame our past. But actually, research shows that by the time you're 14 years old, your environment has more influence and impact on your choices than your DNA. So don't blame your DNA. You can even switch that. You can change that. So I could take it in one direction, or I could turn it around 180 degrees. The last time I saw Winston was over 2 decades ago. To me, he is my only role model because he taught me how to sacrifice. He's always there to protect the family, but because of some mistake that he made, he dropped out at 7th grade, and he was in prison. So I haven't seen him for 2 decades, and there is no way to find him. I don't know where is he. He has been exiled from the country, so I cannot find him or contact him. And if I ever see him, I want to tell him how grateful I am to him because he was my only role model as a big brother protecting me. My second brother, Philip, dropped out at 9th grade, and my sister also dropped out at 9th grade. So my dream is to be the first one that finished 9th grade and 10th grade. So when we talk about first generation college, I'm like so envious. I don't even know what college is because I just want to be the first one to just finish that 9th grade and make my parents proud. So the second thing, so the first thing is there's a lot of failure in your life that you cannot even control. We don't get to choose our parents. We don't get to sometimes choose our zip code. It's just where we land. And the second thing is being self-aware. Accept who you are. As in, I know what I'm weak at, what I'm strong at, what I can, what I cannot do. That's the limit. And don't worry about being the next somebody. Worry about being the first you. Do you know who you are and what you are made of? So I know that I'm poor and I'm not smart and I don't have a lot. This was the only color pencil that my mom ever bought for me at 3rd grade that is related to school. That is that German lunar color pencil that I talk about in the book. This is the only family trip that I ever remember we went on, Villa, to go together on a Sunday for a couple of hours. And this is the only birthday that my mother ever celebrated for me, December 15th. And my mother would comment, I don't even remember my own birthday. Why would I remember yours? So growing up is I am always the invisible. Unlike in Western culture, the baby gets the attention. I was the unwanted child from the beginning. And you read in the book about my failure just trying to get into kindergarten. So that is that 2-bun that my mother, will hit me, and it's very, very tight because in Singapore school, you cannot let down your hair. You cannot wear a necklace, you cannot have pierced ear, everything has to be the same. So no cosmetic or anything, and we all have to bun our hair up. So after 2 tries, I made it through kindergarten, but now the issue is I can't get into 1st grade. And this is a picture of after my mother struggled to get me into school. So one of this reason is because the government punish you being the 4th child. So they punish you by fining you for $1,000 and then punish you by this child doesn't have a seat in school. Which then you go education, apparently it's like this bridge and these important things, but this is the punishment. And yet, I can crawl back into the tummy is really not my fault. So I was sentenced right before I was born. And finally, as you go through, schools that are not, teachers don't really care. They just pass you on grade after grade. You just move on. You kind of make it. You kind of don't make it. You don't really know how to study and what school is about. It's just another few hours that you leave the home and go be with somebody else. It's like a daycare. But I don't really have any friends, so it's not a social thing for me. I read about your book called Alice in Wonderland. It's not something common in Singapore. So remember Alice in Wonderland, it's like she's traveling and she came to a crossroad. And she couldn't decide which road to take. And she asked the Cheshire Cat, which road should I take? And what did the cat say? Who can remember? Anybody? What did the cat say? The cat asked Alice, well, where do you want to go? And Alice said, I don't know. And the cat said, then it doesn't really matter which road you take. I said, what a ridiculous story that is. We all don't have a path that is just perfectly built up for us, that we just know this is exactly what I want. We may think we do. Like say, hey, this is my journey, this is my education, I want to be a lawyer, a nurse. That is a vision, a slight vision, but we don't have every footstep of the way. What we need to do is to have courage to take one of those roads. It may be tough, and sometimes we walk on those roads and we go, you know what, I keep falling and I keep failing. So you have a choice here. Do I pick myself up and go, you know what, even though it was painful, it was difficult, it was a challenge, I'm going to continue because this is exactly what I want. Or, you know what, after all this, I learned it's okay. This is not what I want. I'm going to have the courage to walk back again, and now I'm going to take the other road because now I know that is not what I want. So either way, it's not a failure. It is the ability to face your failure and have the courage to say, it's okay. I may come in with this major in mind, with this prospect in mind, with this career in mind, with relationship in mind, but with all of these things, I'm becoming aware that it's okay, this is not what I want, or this is what I want, and nothing is going to stop me. But you have to be aware of what it is that you're willing to build, that resilient. What is this thing? I'm going to persist no matter what. I'm going to use my resources. I'm going to go talk to my advisor. I'm going to go tutoring because I really, really want to be in this major. All the gap is, what would it take? It doesn't matter how long, but I'm going to work at it. Okay? So there are different parts to the story. So this one, my favorite quote. You think about it. There is really nothing in a caterpillar. In fact, it's a little bit gruesome, ugly, but it's going to be a butterfly. So again, I get moved on from grade after grade, and now we have this major exam. So the Cambridge exam is harder than your SAT. Literally, we write it and send it over to England, and it's graded by those teachers. It's a very tough exam. So 10th grade is the final year I get a chance to repeat, because I failed. Obviously, I failed. I got ABS. Remember what ABS is? I wrote it in a book. Absent. I didn't even show up. So who can I blame? I didn't even show up. So when you didn't even show up for your class, oh my goodness, I failed. And sometimes I look, how can you fail theater? I mean, you just need to show up in theater class, something. It's like, so my challenge to you is tell yourself, why would you not show up? It's like work. You just show up. The first step is you need to show up. Not, well, I'll see if I like the class. I'll see if I like the professor. Oh, it's too early. No, the decision is I'm going to show up for every class. Whether or not I like the professor, I like my classmate, I like the assignment, I'm going to show up because that is half the battle, is to show up. And then your second battle, your goal is to make sure that you submit your assignments on time. If you can do these two things, you are building tremendous attribute to prepare you in life. Because guess what? When you go to work, you better show up and you better hand in whatever your boss tells you to do on time. And if you are the boss, you will want your employee to show up and they better hand in stuff on time. So you are building an attribute right from day one, not when you graduate, not 4 or 6 years later. Every day is what you're building. So again, I was like, I'm not very good, but this is my last shot. And I knew I wanted an education, which was, my parents said, well, you're going to have to pay your supplementary fee yourself because they're not going to pay for that. So what I do is I walk a lot, right? In my book, I talk about I walk a lot to save a quarter instead of taking the bus. And this last chance, I said, it could be the longest 365 days of my life or a drop in the ocean. But it's up to me to decide how I'm going to turn these 365 days completely different in my life. And let's talk about this change in a caterpillar. How many of you are biology major or study insects? Okay, so what does the caterpillar, what does the cocoon go through? Like, what is this caterpillar doing inside? The harshest moment is when it's black. Why is it black? What is it doing inside? Say it louder. Well, what does that mean? Louder.
It's basically like turn it into a liquid form and just changing.
What does it need to do to change that? It needs to digest and eat its own organ. eat its own organ. It's pretty gruesome. Think about it, right? So it needs to suck all those things, not knowing what color my wings are going to be. They don't know. They just know I need to go through this. And in the darkest moment is when I'm going to transform into something. And yet I got to go through it because that's the only way. Only way. It doesn't matter what your background is, you are going to go through. So the earlier you learn that it's gruesome, but I have to go through it, the higher the chances is that I am building that resilience, like what your president talked about, okay? So you think about it, is that this change is not easy. So you think, well, I'm in this, GSW, or I'm not in Harvard, I say, it doesn't matter what's the name of the school you go to. You all attend SIU. It's called Suck It Up. You just suck it up. You don't like the assignment? Suck it up. Do it, because I have to do it, okay? You don't like the class, the time, you just suck it up. Take responsibility and stop the whining and just suck it up. Go to the resources that you have. So basically, in the end, we are neutralizes how much you're willing to suck it up in order to fly. So we all attend SIU, great university. Yeah. Sometimes you have to forget the person inside you in order to become the person you were meant to be. So to me I could say, but I am nobody, but I am quiet, but I'm shy, but my teacher used to have to cane me because I won't talk. And then when I ask questions in class, you are being rebellious, you're being rude. It's like, I couldn't figure out school. It's like a guessing game, right? So I wrote about how school is like an imprisonment for me. So I never see school as learning, it's just a trap for me. So you got facing a lot of failures, being self-aware, and then once you know what is it that you want, which for me is, I gotta pass this. This is like the toughest 365 days, but I gotta pass it. I have to remain consistent to it and self-regulate. Sometimes it's hard to stay on path. I got to study so many hours, I got to stick to the plan. It's by removing distractions. We got a lot of distraction in our life. We don't want to recognize that as distraction, whether it's your social media, whether it's friends, whether it's pressure from relatives, it's a lot of distraction. It's that which are distraction and which are motivators to help you. You have to sort that out, and then you consistently take that path. So in here is, if I don't make it, again, to repeat means I got to wear the same uniform. And in Chinese culture, it's all about the face value. That means your reputation. So all the neighborhood knows that I'm repeating because I'm wearing the same uniform. Because if I pass, I would have been wearing a different uniform, or I would have been working. So no, right? It's a very easy way to judge you. And so that uniform was a reminder. And ironically, I work for Texas A&M, and my uniform is maroon, and I'm like, oh, I swear I will never wear another maroon color. But maroon is the color that I associate with the hat. So this is the 10th grade, and this is Mr. Yap. This is the best picture I could find of Mr. Yap. The first teacher or administrator, right? Nobody wants to teach that class of failures. Right? Like sometimes faculty, I just want to teach the best and brightest. No, we don't get to pick and choose who sits on the chair. Our job is to teach it. So Mr. Yap did not just teach math. He taught me. He was using math to talk to me. Again, if you're failing, last class that you think, oh, I'm going to be so successful is math. I don't know about you, but I'm not good in math. So not Asians at all are good in math, okay? Yet he comes in and he tells me, of course you can do this. Of course, look at this. And he solved it. And it's like he's talking to me. He's not just teaching to the board. He's talking to me. And believe it or not, years later, I'm the teacher educator that teaches how to teach math. And then this is Julia, the beautiful Julia, who just knows it all. So she is the opposite of me. But Julia has this really kind-hearted way of telling me, no, sometimes you look at the mistakes. You don't avoid it. Teachers write comments for you and provide you feedback. And if they don't, you are entitled to ask for that feedback. Tell me, What do I need to do? Versus, can you give me extra credit? Can you give me extra time? No, no, tell me, what did I do to be able to grow the next step? That's what. Even if you already have your final grades, is what can I do to learn from this? Versus with all the markers and all the feedback, I don't want to look at it, right? We avoid because it's uncomfortable. So Julie taught me, look at your mistake. Maybe not right away, but later you need to go back and look at it. There's a reason why it's written there. It's for you. I just wanted to put a face to the book. So in the end, so talk about 10th grade plus all the repeat years. So almost 14 years of education for me to learn, oh my goodness, now I finally know how to study. I didn't know what studying means at all. And I finally know it means, you know, reading every line, answering the question, being able to ask questions. There's a lot of steps to it. I didn't know. I just thought if I copy the notes, that means I understood. I did not know how to rehearse, how to explain to myself things. And finally, after all this, I said, I got it. I got it. And that's why when I move on, I learned. And I used the same consistent skill and became the best all-around students of the year. So we talk about breaking habits. Again, I don't have a board here, but I want you to look at the word habits. We form habits day by day by building or doing something or avoiding something. So if I remove the word S, you get habit. If I remove H, you get a bit. If I remove A, you get bit. If I remove B, you get it. And I remove T, you get I. So same thing of getting rid of habit, one day at a time, is how you build good habits. One at a time, one letter at a time. Okay? So nobody comes here and says, I just got a formula to be successful. Every day you're discovering, these are my failures, this is a struggle. When I get on my phone, I have a hard time, getting off, and now I'm late in my work, and now I have short of time, or I waited to the last minute. You have to be fully aware of yourself. And at 23, or around 24 years old, again, I'm done with school, right? And my father continued to be abusive. And I decided that I am going to figure out a way to get out of this. So I work as a custodian, empty garbage, clean the office, clean the toilet for $100 a month. And to save that enough to buy a one-way ticket, and I came to America. And I still don't know what exactly I'm going to study, but I said, I'm going to go there. And even though I don't know what is in front of me, it's a little bit blurry, but I know what I don't want is behind. So sometimes you take the faith and you walk the first step. And that's what I did. I went to Hawaii for an education. And this is Dr. Jackson, or Brother Jackson, as I call it in the book. The person that gave me a chance. Sometimes you're begging for that chance, but you go, you know what? I deserve that chance. I don't know anything about special education, but I need a job. I need a job because I can't go home. It's too shameful. I make a decision and I left the country, and now give me a chance. So here's the one who taught me the square thing is called computer. Okay, this was like back in 99, right? It's like I don't understand a mouse. And yet he's trying to accredit a program, which is a lot of work. He could hire somebody. He hired this person that speak no good English. 2 weeks in the country. I said, but if you just give me a chance, I will learn everything. So in BYU, if you take 12 credits and above, it's the same price. So I said, you know what, I don't know computer. I'm going to take computer literacy. I don't know what's special. I'm going to read every book there is and watch every video in the library. That's what I did. I worked really hard for a $20 a week pay, because it's not about the money. It's that I want to prove to him that I am worth the chance that you gave me. And 3 months before he passed away, I went to visit Brother Jackson to tell him how grateful I am. He's the first one that opened my eyes up to special education and made me love special education. Sometimes you put up walls not to keep people out, but to see who cares enough to break them down. This is Dr. Han. You have that one class that you go, I I just want to be done with this professor. I just want to be done. It's like, this is that professor. Remember, I don't really like Chinese. I'm not very good in English. And he happened to teach both of those subjects. It's like, I just want to be done with him. But it's such a small school. So every time I walk, he said, Barbara, how are you doing? And he kept meddling, wanting to know about my life. But that is called caring, which I didn't know. I just thought that was annoying, right? So when your advisor or your professor email you, it's called caring. They could call anybody else, but they decide to send you the email. They decide to talk to you. They are caring about you. So he decided to break the wall to tell me that he's caring. So it's not about avoiding what we don't like. Is there somebody behind there that is trying to reach us? And there are so many accidental angels surrounding you in this school alone, right? You can think about your parents or your relatives and all your friends, but right in here, people care about you. To bring me here to talk to you, to have you read a book and pay, to make a point to tell you it's okay, let's take the next step, and I will walk the next step. And in my book, I call them accidental angels. There are so many accidental angels around you. You are not alone. And Dr. Han was my accidental angel who tells me that. When I graduated, that's my commencement speaker, Muhammad Ali. And it was so huge in that school. Imagine I came from a tiny, tiny school to Columbia that I go, I don't even know where is New York City. Remember, I don't even know that it's snow in New York City. All of this is such a different experience in my life. So am I going to let those experiences be? I don't want to try that. Versus, well, I'm here now. It's the only school. So I am going to suck it up and walk that path. It's very difficult. It was very challenging, but I'm going to make it because Dr. said if I just put in the same effort, it doesn't matter the name of the school. It's the same effort, and I can be as equal. And for those of you who gave me your book sign, that's what I wrote in there for you, we are seeking after success, the A grade, whatever. It's putting the effort, not being afraid of failure, finding out the reason why, and then that success comes back and embrace you, and it feels great, okay? So in 2015, while I was vacationing in Hawaii, I was asked literally like the first day of vacation, if you would like to come back and help us restructure and be the chair of the very program that I started, we will pay for your whole trip for 10 days and give you this job. The success comes back after you. The success chases after you. So in 2015, and this was a 2016 commencement, is Dr. Han and I stand as equal full professor. So sometimes you go, but I'm so far behind. And people say, it's like, it seems so far, 4 years or 6 years, some of you, may take, and then you do your master and then your doctorate. It seems forever. But time is your biggest gift and your enemy. Everything else is you could have different variables in here from different backgrounds, but guess what? Everybody in this room. Doesn't matter whether it's your president, the camera person, it doesn't matter how wealthy, you all have the same 24 hours. What you do with the 86,400 seconds every day changes the next step, builds another habit that you do every single day. And the end is to say, oh, you only take 8 years to finish from your undergrad to your PhD. I said, no, it was 23 years of learning how to fail that taught me how to become successful. Are the stars always in the sky, whether you see or not in the day? They don't go to sleep, and cover the sky. It was always there. It's just that in the darkest sky is when they sparkles the most, right? Each of you is a star. And together you form a constellation. You were always meant to shine. I want to read a short passage from the book which you have already read. Just to finish the end part. Congratulations, Dr. Barbara Hong, the Dean solemnly pronounces. The photographers snap away while I calmly make my way back to my seat. Multitudes of congratulatory praises sound from every parameter, but only one voice stands out. I'm so proud of you. A voice all too familiar from a class I took not too long ago. Dr. Han and his wife had flown from Hawaii to witness this momentous occasion because he knew no one from my family would be there. He embraces me and presents me with a fresh ginger ale all the way from Honolulu. I did not begin my odyssey with an education in mind, but along the way, caring teachers, friends, and even strangers taught me to love myself, love others, and love learning. The footsteps of this expedition have not always been mine alone. The imprints before me, behind me, and mostly beside me have left indelible marks of faith, patience, and fortitude. Likewise, the foundation of my upbringing may not have been all that stable, at times difficult, at times unpredictable, but it was the very caring of those around me that lit up a path I never knew existed. I didn't have the foresight into what my life was going to be like when I was 10, 20, 30, or even now. Sometimes I make it at the first shot, sometimes at the 15th shot. But most of the time, I stumbled through unknowingly, bruised and battered along the way, not understanding why my expedition is exceptionally onerous, while everyone seems to breeze through like a walk in the park. All I know is that if I keep failing forward, lifting my head up towards God, somehow a caring hand will come along the way and lift me up, and today I land on both feet. I want to leave with you this quotation, which Dr. Jenkins has very graciously made the bookmark for everyone. Don't compare your life to others. There's no comparison between the sun, the moon, and the stars. They shine when it's their own time. So thank you very much. I want to leave with you this as you read the book, and my Spanish version just came out about 3 weeks ago. I was asked, can you translate this? Because in Texas, they want to have a way to relate to the students, and when they travel, study abroad in Peru and Argentina, they were asking for it. So thank you again for spending time with me and for allowing me. So I'm open to answer any questions.